This episode on Focused.
Van Dyne and I were talking about doing some sort of motorcycle road trip.
Motorcycles are cool, bikes are cool, put them together and you're gonna have a good time.
Jumps were awesome, it was a good setup, and we just had to fix them up a little bit, and it was pretty dialed.
Smooth Talk had the helmet cam on, jumping right next to Zink.
It was so cool from in the air up there watching it.
Chase saw this roof sitting there, and there was a berm right behind it. This place is revolutionary, I think.
Imagine it was your job to get sent to the most remote corners of the world to do what you love most. These are athletes, but this is no game. They have been training all their lives, but there's no trophy to win. Friends watching their backs are more than a team, they're a lifeline. They are living a dream that could end as fast as the weather changes, equipment breaks, or they misjudge a landing. This is their job. They're sponsored professional athletes who get sent to the most exotic spots on the planet to push the limits of their sport. To capture one moment, 15 seconds of film, a half-page glossy photo. And there's no place they would rather be. When the drop count ends, it's just you, your fear, and the film crew. The world is rushing around you, but for that moment in time, you and the camera have to be focused. Throughout the east coast of the U.S., ski areas that for years sat dormant through long off-season months are steadily tapping into the booming sport of mountain biking, creating lift-access downhill trails and parks that are now rivaling any out there. With so many natural and man-made options, the mountains of New England make for a unique down-home setting for MSP Films to get some mountain biking footage in the can. One of our principal riders is New Hampshire native Aaron Chase. He's a veteran pro known for his diverse talent, creativity, and distinctive riding style. And he's built a career on both competition podiums and stunning film segments. Fresh off a broken back, Chase wanted to show a few friends what his home turf had to offer. But he had his own idea for how to get around between locales.
So check it out, we're here at Bike Week in Laconia, New Hampshire. We're gonna roll out tonight and go to Attitash, rip some downhill for 2 days, peel out to there to Smooth Talk's buddy's house. This dude, Knight, has got dirt jumps in his backyard. They're super sick, right in front of a church. And then we're gonna come back here to Highland Mountain Bike Park for a Red Bull's building us a dirt half pipe. And we're gonna pin it around town right here. This is Weirs Beach, Laconia, New Hampshire. This is Bike Week. We're gonna live it up for a whole week. Motorcycles and mountain bikes.
Joining Chase in what was dubbed the Hold On Loosely Tour was Chris Van Dyne, a downhill specialist who would be getting back on the bike for the first time after a 6-month rehab for a blown knee.
When I talked to Aaron about it, and I'm just like, I'm definitely just looking to get the flow back and have fun. And, he just said, it's the Hold On Loosely tour. Just hold on loosely, dude. No pressure, no worries. Let's just have some fun.
Local Dave Smutok has applied his extensive filming and competitive freeriding background to trail building at Highlands, helping turn the once defunct ski area into one of the more renowned mountain bike parks in the U.S.
Yeah, it's sick. This is my new favorite line.
Dave Smutox, super solid rider, local guy, really strong, hard worker, killer dude.
Bike Week is unreal. Just so many people come out of the woodwork with bikes, and everyone's there for a common bond, no matter what they look like or anything. It's all just like a good time and a meeting, and everyone shares the road and rides motorcycles.
As our buddy, he's Smooth Talk, and the guy goes big. He's definitely one of the most underrated riders.
Cameron Zink is a major player in Freeride Entertainment's New World Disorder series of films. His diverse skills on a bike are occasionally outshined only by his personality.
He's just a crack up at it. Usually everything that comes out of his mouth is hilarious, and at night he kind of like morphs into some different characters or whatever, and you just gotta sit back and chuckle all day.
A final last-minute addition to the crew was Adam Houghton, a 19-year-old newcomer out of Newark, New Jersey, who is just starting to make a name for himself with a hefty bag of street and skate park tricks.
Aaron Chase called me up one day and he says, "Can you get a motorcycle license?" And I'm like, "Probably not." But I still wanted to come on the trip, and they were going to need somebody to drive an RV.
Of course, driving the RV is a small price to pay for a week of hanging, riding, and filming with a few of the sport's best.
Dave and Cam both got their license, I think the day before we started shooting for the show. And Dave decided to buy a bike here because he was kind of, he was sold on it before we even had to pitch it to him. But, we rented a bike for Cam and it came down to like a little Honda or a full-on 2008 Harley Road King, full dresser. Thing's a monster. It's like, 800 or so pounds. And we're a little nervous about how he'd take to it, but he rallied that thing like it was his 50.
We came up to Highland. We did a ride around the lake. It's a memorial ride for my grandfather-in-law that passed away 2 years ago. It's to raise money for the fire department. And there's over 300 bikes in the ride. Did a whole ride around Lake Winnipesaukee, 2.5 hours. Didn't have to stop at one light. It was sick.
People that have been doing this for years, and this is how they live their life. We're, kind of mixing it up with them and riding our Harleys, with them, and starting out our trip in a good way to get the whole feeling and theme of the trip before we set out and start riding our mountain bikes.
Right after the ride around the lake, I wanted to go up and do some downhill. Attitash was one of the nicest stops because of the terrain. It's just real steep and technical.
I don't even know where Attitash is. And then I show up and there's a sweet bike park with a ton of good downhill trails and a ton of good riders there, and they're devoted to mountain bikes there in the summer.
When I was growing up or whatever, there was no such thing as lift-accessible mountains or anything like that, and now there's, pick your spot. When we got up to Attitash, and, everybody rides the lift up with each other or whatever, but I don't know. I don't want to follow everybody down the whole time, so we take our own way down, and sometimes we just race each other, and you take that trail, I'll take that trail, and I'll see you at the bottom.
Cam and I took off and just blasted a few full speed runs, just ripping through single track, nice tight muddy corners, picking up roost.
While Chris and Cam rallied high-speed laps, the other three toyed around with a few features.
I think the plan with Attitash was just to go there and get some solid downhill in it, Get loose, clear all the bugs out.
Well, that was my first real session on the big bike of the year, and it was great. Loving it. Roosting corners with all the guys, kind of rhythm trains through the trees, and just kind of getting loose, hooting and hollering, super fun sesh.
We shredded that place, I guess, for all it's worth.
First thing that comes to my mind with Attitash on this trip was some pretty sweet burnouts in a sandy parking lot, which definitely provided some much-needed sideshow entertainment.
After we left Attitash, did some derbying in the parking lot. The next day after riding, we went all the way north, all the way up to the Northeast Kingdom in Vermont.
It's like probably one of the best drives you can do in New England. You go by Mount Washington, you go through Franconia Notch. It's like all the best things we have to offer geographically, all in one 2-hour ride.
Super fun section of road, no traffic, nice ribbony road.
It's just a beautiful place. Not a lot of people up there, and Pretty much at the base of Burke Mountain is this one dude, Knight. He's got these dirt jumps in his backyard, and we decided to go up and check them out.
We're fresh off of 6 hours on the road. Left Attitash at like 3 o'clock. We're getting here at 9, even almost 10 o'clock. And we're trying to put a tent together. And this dude's front lawn. And he supposedly has some killer jumps in the backyard. So we're gonna set up camp and we'll see him in the morning.
Me and my hog sleep.
These guys may travel to and shoot in some of the more spectacular locales on Earth, but still the anxious kid in each of them can't wait for daylight to see what lurks in the backyard.
I knew Knight's jumps were sick, but I didn't really know how much he had. I didn't know what the whole scenario looked like or anything like that. And when we got up there, I was definitely impressed. I mean, we just walked around there with a flashlight for 1 second at night, and I'm like, oh, it's on, you know.
Look at the wind. I know, they're so nice and big. Is that step on, step off? That's an on-off.
We gotta ride these tomorrow. We gotta work on them a little bit, but we gotta ride these tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll definitely be awesome.
We woke up the next morning, got to check out the jumps.
Super nice setup. So all we had to do was just clean up the lips and clean out some rocks.
Knight's place was no joke. He did a lot of work with all the tractors, and that place was running last year, but it hadn't been running yet this year, you know, so we had to do work on it, and everybody pitched in huge, and all we had to do was buff out a couple lines and set up some scaffolding for the first drop. But, I mean, it was easy digging. The big line is what kind of sparkled everyone's eyes. It's got about a 25-foot gap on this one jump.
Initially, I was a little skeptical of the big line, and we kind of had some different ideas as to how we were going to make it work.
Then Adam stepped up to the plate and got things rolling.
Once the first guy teed it up, everybody was so psyched to just coast off that thing.
We're here doing all our jobs for our sponsors and getting video coverage, getting magazine coverage for everyone, and progressing and doing everything we can to become better riders. So, you know, it's legit making all our sponsors happy and, you know, making our names bigger and keeping in the scene. But at the same time, it's almost like an excuse because it's so much fun for us. It doesn't even seem like we're at work, you know? We could do trips like this all year and that's it. That's all anyone would do, you know?
I didn't know how much of a throwdown it would be on that first big jump, but I mean, Hauk was doing 7s and Smootok had these huge stretched Supermans, and
Jace was corking out flips, alley-oops, 1-footed X-up flips.
Zick was all over the place, flipping the first one and stuff. And Don did Vanderroll. Everybody stepped up their game there, and it wasn't surprising because the dirt was pretty soft and it was pretty consequence-free.
I got to get better than that. There definitely were a few crashes.
People were crashing pretty gnarly, but you could pull through because you fall all the time, you get used to it, you pretty much learn how to fall, and it was kind of surprising seeing some crashes you get away from just because how soft the dirt was.
crashes suck, especially the more of them you get, you know? I've always had this thing where it feels weirder for me to be totally healed up and feeling strong than it does for me to be kind of beat down.
I laughed mostly at my buddies every single day for crashing, which is always entertaining when there's no serious injuries.
Yeah, I'm good. Whoa, I blew my snap off.
A couple times I really wanted to throw down some lines and push some stuff, and I just, was reminded to hold on loosely. And it was good, it just kept coming back to having a good time. There was no pressure to try to wreck yourself and get this gnarly end-all shot,
But as the relative newcomer on the scene, for Adam, there might have been a little more at stake.
As for riding, Hauk threw it down, I think, harder than anyone, and he, came and took this as a huge opportunity to, get some filming done and show everyone what he's got.
I stepped down tail whip, It was pretty sketchy because it was a long jump on to a short platform. So you had to gap and then shut it down and then whip down because the landing was real close. It was just kind of a sketchy setup, and the way it was set up, we had to change some things to get into it, and it just wasn't real trick friendly, but I just wanted to do it real bad, so I just got it done.
Yeah!
With the riders throwing down, it was time to step up the filming element, so we pulled out a specialty Super 16mm film helmet camera to add a new perspective.
Yeah, that 1VN is crazy. You got to put on this full face helmet with a battery pack, and then the camera's on one side, and the camera guys are just like, yeah, just, you know, go pretty close to them and try to coast off the jump next to each other.
You don't want to be any closer than that.
Yeah, I want to be as close as I can get.
Yeah.
And this really is where you want to be. This is like,
We always ride, you know, single file off all the jumps, you know what I mean? Like, but we'll do like tight trains real close, but we never hit jumps side by side, you know? I don't know, it was pretty cool. It was something that we never done before, for sure. And I think the shots are gonna come out sick. I mean, just watching them do it, I'm like, if they even caught a glimpse of that, it's gonna come out so dope.
Cam and I went off the jump, like our bars were super close, turned our head and watched each other do the move. Once I got used to it, watching Cam flip that jump, as soon as I turned my head to watch him in the air, I couldn't look away. It was so nasty from my eyes, not even the camera. I watched him all the way until I just landed. I basically didn't even look where I was going.
I believe we were the first people to ever do that on a mountain bike with such a high frame rate and such a good camera. So got a couple weeks of anticipation seeing how the film turns out.
No, sweet watching it, that's for sure.
Just when you thought the day was shot and wrapped up, it started to rain again, and we're all just like, oh yeah, give me a beer, we'll just hang out by the fire.
Everyone was beat up and just like real satisfied, and then we had some other locals just starting to party with us and hang out.
All of a sudden, everybody put up their pads on, and we ran back out to ride even harder. And
That's pretty much been the essence of the trip, is what happened at Knight's House. It wasn't even supposed to be a stop of the trip, but it ended up being the most of what we were going for. You know, we were doing burnouts with, you know, smoke up in there with Old Glory blaring on the face of the jumps while, you know, Hauk and Smooth Talk are throwing themselves doing sevens and stuff, bailing in the dirt, and people partying in the background, high-fiving each other and spraying beer, and that was like, that's what it was all about.
Burnouts, barbecues, bike parks. It was awesome.
once we left Vermont, we had a nice long ride back.
A ripping highway sesh, wide open, no traffic. So we pinned it back through the Green Mountains, beautiful scenery, back to Highland and Laconia area. So that's kind of where we started and ended the tour. You know, Mark, the owner here, is a super nice guy. I think he bought this place about 3 years ago. It's just an old rundown ski area that hadn't been running in like 12 or 13 years.
They have a plethora of downhill trails and like free ride lines and big jumps and drops and, you know, anything that you could ask for to ride. Besides all that, they have some of the best dirt jumps I've ever seen, thanks to Dave. Because Dave runs the show here and he builds some of the best dirt jumps and berms I've ever seen, especially at a mountain bike park.
Everybody here has a real die-hard, similar core vision of what's good for the sport and what we all like to do, and that makes it super easy to work here and get stuff done.
This place is I think, almost like the pioneer of what's coming for mountain biking. It's like revolutionary, I think, and it's going to be the role model for what any other mountain bike park should be that's coming up.
It's a fun resort, man. Like, the guy's basically got a chairlift in his backyard, fires it up whenever he wants, you know, and it's a good time. He's just giving us the green light to do whatever we want, and it's a rad spot. Smooth Talk's got some ripping berms in the jump park. You know, it's like nice floaty hips into these smooth, bowled out, perfectly shaped berms from the hardtail, and yeah, go rip a few shots over there.
Well, we were doing laps at Highland, and I came around a berm, and I just toasted this shed. And I'm like, man, why aren't we riding that shed? We just shaped the berm up, and it was perfect. We put a little landing right behind it, and we started riding the shed. It was pretty abusive at first, but the more we rode it in, it started getting better and better, and actually some stuff went down. It was hard, really hard to ride, but we got a couple of good shots on that.
I banged out a couple things on it, but then Chase was going for the gold, so we banged out the 3 tire tap and a couple tries. That was sketchy.
That was so nasty.
Yeah.
One of the sickest things I've ever seen. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on film, but it was gnarly, and it was like, I don't know anyone else that can do that, you know?
Aaron always has lots of good ideas, and he had, wanted to do like a dirt half pipe for mountain bikes, a little different than any other one we've ever really seen. And it just so happens that Highlands had a dirt pipe left over from the early 90s when like pipe skiing and snowboarding just started to become a thing. It was just like the snake run pipe. It was actually called the Dragon's Tail pipe. That was just shambles left over up in the woods.
Just been sitting up there forever. They punched a line through it for us, and we were just stoked to ride it. None of us ever really ride anything like that, you know? It's like jumps or hips or this or that, but this is like this really just cool killer line.
Towards the end of the day, everyone's kind of up there rolling around and shoveling in their own little spot and just making tweaks and getting comfortable and getting loose. Then it gets dark and we popped on the lights and cranked on some tunes. Everyone just started having a good old time and the session just took off.
Some of the best stuff that went down was, really anything Houck did, 270 whips over the hip. Smooth Talk was just riding super solid and strong, 3'd the drop, and then just blasted airs.
I think the sickest thing to go down was Smooth Talk. He had a really good run. He did a big old superseder on the step-up jump, which was pretty hard to hit. Also, Chase flipping that hip was pretty sweet. Oh no, definitely Chase nose picking that tree. That was badass.
Hey Chase, we're the lobbyists for number 3.
With fatigue setting in, the guys close out the trip with one last train.
the trip was great. I mean, I think it was good because it was loose enough. We had a super good crew and everybody clicked together, and we just had, had a ton of laughs and had a good time.
It was awesome, I can't say enough. I'm looking forward to putting another bike trip together.
If the Hold On Loosely Tour came on next year, I'd definitely be down, and I'd have a moto. I couldn't sit in the RV again. It's just not the same.
I would say the title was perfect. Hold on loosely. We're having fun and we're still getting it done.
The trip was an American dream.
Next on Rad X, the Otter Body.
Noah Cullen Negrin. Like you two boys.